All members are here, and I call the meeting to order. Next up is the Cuthbertson High School Junior ROTC Air Force Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Forward. Hold. Right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Face. Forward. Arch.
Thank you. Please sit. I need a motion to approve the agenda. All in favor? Aye. 9-0. Next up is the John H. Crowder Service Award. Reverend Kirkpatrick. Thank you. Kirkpatrick.
I have been called worse. All right, Nicole, if you would come. All right. The late John H. Crowder spent more than 30 years serving the children of Union County. As a living tribute to him and his legacy, the Union County Board of Education awards the John H. Crowder Service Award every month to an outstanding high school student who is making a difference in their school and community. Students who have received this award are academically successful and have established history of community service. Tonight, we award the John H. Crowder Service Award for May to a Union County Early College senior. Nicole Bonilla Cruz has been in many leadership roles during high school. Currently at UCEC, she is student body president and secretary and membership outreach chair for the National Society of Leadership and Success. At South Piedmont Community College, she is president of the Honors Club and senior marketing chair for the Student Government Association. Outside of school, she is the youth president at Centro de Fe. Nicole is always present and actively involved in various events in school and outside of it. She takes on leadership roles in planning, promoting, and facilitating these events. She is extensively involved in many events at school, including Fall Festival, Spring Festival, Welcome Week, Hispanic Heritage Month, Union County Chamber of Commerce Gala, and Freshman Bridge. She also motivates her church congregation to increase their participation in events and service. Nicole excels academically in her class because she is dedicated to taking the most challenging courses. After completing 4 honors projects, including a case study on a deceased patient with gastric cancer, she will graduate with honors from South Piedmont Community College. In May, she will receive a high school diploma and an associate's degree. SPCC recently honored her with the Academic of Excellence Award. Adrian Porter, the principal, said Nicole is an exceptional student who has displayed relentless dedication and commitment to her academic pursuits. Graduating with honors is an associate's degree in 4 years says a lot and is a great accomplishment. She is a kind and compassionate person who is always willing to lend a helping hand to others. Her empathy and understanding shines through in her interactions with classmates and teachers. She is a funny and loving person who embodies what it means to be a Union County Early College Cyclone and a John H. Crowder Awards recipient. After graduation, Nicole plans to attend the University of North Carolina, Charlotte for engineering and finance. Board members, please join me in congratulating Nicole Bonilla Cruz as the May 2023 recipient of the John H. Crowder Service Award. Very good.
Thank you. Next up is influencers, Dr. Harris.
Good evening. Good evening.
I hate that word.
Hello? All right. Good evening. We are pleased to recognize two outstanding employees who have been named UCPS Influencers for May 2023. Also, our non-instructional winner from April, who was unable to attend last month, is here with us tonight. This program celebrates the passion, dedication, and hard work of UCPS employees. Each month, our staff members, students, families, and community members nominate a UCPS employee to be recognized for those positive influences they've had on our organization. For the month of May, I'm honored to present Don McCourt, a fifth grade teacher at Henby Bridge Elementary, Miranda Helms, after school support specialist at Central Services. Our April nominee is Henry Shute, a database analyst at Technology Services. I will now invite the nominators to the podium to read their submissions and recognize the honorees' accomplishments. Ms. Gallup.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tiffany Gallup, a parent of a student at Henby Bridge Elementary. Ms. McCourt, thank you for joining me. Ms. McCourt is my son's fifth grade teacher and has an amazing work ethic and is very patient with him. She accommodates his food allergies by making sure he can participate in class activities and goes out of her way to find the right snacks for him. She has helped build his confidence by encouraging him to lead activities in the front of the classroom. Ms. McCourt has been excellent at maintaining communication with me and has been understanding in helping me address my child's educational difficulties. She has been non-judgmental and provides an unbiased advice on how to best support our child's success in Union County schools. Ms. McCourt is an excellent teacher who has positively impacted my child and other children within the community. She possesses all of the qualities we wish for in a teacher for a upcoming middle schooler. I'm inspired by her decades-long commitment to teaching children of the future.
Good evening. I am Laura Rimmer. I am an accounting specialist. Miranda, would you please join me? I'm sorry, I'm an accounting specialist with the after-school program. Miranda Helms is always willing to assist any of our employees who are struggling or do not comprehend the processes required to comply with the many state and sanitation regulations. She also helps our coordinators in preparing their centers for students or brainstorming ideas for any aspect of their work. Miranda was a coordinator for several years and had one of the best programs in the after school, which was highly praised by a state consultant. Additionally, she is helpful to the central office staff and works to bring our team together through teamwork and enjoyable activities. It is evident that Miranda takes pride in her work and strives for nothing but excellence in our after school program. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Medina, Administrative Assistant for School Performance. Henry Shute, you don't have to stand. It's okay. It's okay. Henry is one of our database analysts in tech services who works tirelessly behind the scenes to improve all things Team UCPS and technology. His ability to figure out what we are asking of him, even when we don't know what we're asking ourselves, is why he is my UCPS influencer. His can-do attitude makes him our go-to person. I asked Henry, isn't there a way that we can do whatever? And his answer, no matter what the problem is always yes. Henry is humble and kind and always makes you feel like you are the only one who needs help at the moment when he's actually juggling many, many, many projects. Thank you, Henry, for inspiring me every day.
I will now read the UCPS Influencers Proclamation from the Board of Education and Dr. Houlihan. Whereas the Union County Board of Education values the hard work of each employee within the district. Whereas performance is an essential part of the district's operations. Whereas Don McCourt, Miranda Helms, and Henry Shute exemplify the performance, dedication, and teamwork essential to the success of the district and its students. Now, therefore, the Board of Education for Union County Public Schools and Dr. Andrew G. Houlihan, Superintendent, hereby proclaim Don McCourt, Miranda Helms, and Henry Shute as Union County Public Schools influencers for the month of May 2023. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for all you do. Thank you.
Great job. There he is.
Be careful. Do you want to go out that door?
I know how he feels.
Does that? He's still on there, right?
He's still on there,
Okay,
yeah.
and
It
all
just
of this
moves
down.
to the end,
Okay.
and she's from Charlotte, so they'll be at
So,
the
oh, I
end.
got what you meant now.
And this
Okay.
one is not here, definitely not here,
Okay,
and neither has the, she wasn't here.
Katie?
Yeah, Katie.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Next up, Dr. McKibben on the growth impact study. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, Superintendent, ladies and gentlemen of the board. This reminds me of when I was early in my career, first presentation, about 400 people in the room. And so we'll now hear from the demographer, and about 2/3 of them got up and left. So I've learned not to take it personally. You're all good to see you again. A couple of years. I'm going to present briefly in 15 minutes the results of the population enrollment study. But quickly, before I go into the results, for those who haven't heard me speak before, these are forecasts, they're not projections. A projection is where you take a variable, usually year-to-year survivorship, second to third, third to fourth grade, over a 3 to 4 or 5 year period, create an algorithm, and use that algorithm to literally project into the future. Very quick, easy, simple, cheap. Until about the mid-1990s, all you had for enrollment research. The problem with the projection, however, is the only way a projection can be correct is as what's happened in the last 5 years replicates itself over the next 5 or 10. I don't know about anybody here, but I hope we don't see the next 5 years again anytime in my lifetime. Forecast, two-step procedure. First thing we do is a full population forecast for each of the elementary attendance areas. 0 to 4, 85 plus, male to female. Build a fertility, mortality, migration model specific to the demographic characteristics and dynamics of that area. We look at age structure, household structure, existing home sales, new home construction. With Matt Cropper's help on his geocode, we can look at yields for individual subdivisions. Anything we lay our hands on, we put into it. The results of that population forecast then drives the enrollment forecast. So it's your current and future demographic dynamics that'll dictate your enrollment forecast, not what your past trends have been. Now, anytime you're doing, I knew I was going to do that. There we are. Okay. Anytime you're doing forecasts, you have to have assumptions. These are broad socioeconomic demographic parameters, so to speak, that we use in building these forecast models. Now, I don't want to go through all of them, but I do want to go through the big three, okay? These are the variables that have the highest amount of potential random error in a forecast. And probably the most important one is B. The 30-year fixed mortgage stays between 5 and 7% for the next 10 years. A bold assumption. We'll find out tomorrow if Jerome Powell's going to take his foot off the gas, quit raising interest rates. This morning, the 30-year fixed rate was about 6.5%. A year ago right now, it was 3.8. Fastest rise we've seen in U.S. history, okay? We're going into the summer home buying season. Most people with children particularly, if they buy homes, are between April and August. So let's see what the impact of these higher interest rates are going to be. There was a great article on CNBC just 2 months ago. If you bought a $400,000 house a year ago and bought the same house today with a higher interest rate, it adds $800 to your mortgage payment. It's going to have an impact. We're going to see here real soon how much it is. I don't think we'll go above 7%, but I don't think we're going to go below 5%. And that's a key point because most of the people under the age of 40 have seen nothing but 3.5%, 4.5% interest rates for the last 15 years. 6.5 sounds like highway robbery. So this is, again, a major impact. The other two are Q and R. The district will average 960 new single-family housing units constructed per year over the next 10 years. Over the last decade, you averaged about 1,200, just a little below that right now. But right above that, the district will average 4,200 existing home sales per year. I'm not worried about the district making that 960 number. It's the 4,200 number that worries me. And why is that? It's because COVID and post-COVID, the elderly have pretty much stopped moving. Talk to any realtor, and this is where it befuddles people. They'll sit there and they'll say, well, there's this white hot housing market out there. I put my house on the market. It sells in 3 days for asking price or higher. You know, they're building to beat the band. You just look around here, you know, driving in from Waxhaw, the building going on. Must be this white hot housing market. But not only for Union County, but just about every other place around the country, total home sales for 2022 was between 15 and 25% less than it was in 2019. Talk to any realtor, they'll tell you the supply of homes on the market at an all-time record low. The builders, seeing the opportunity, anything in the pipeline they've got, they're trying to push it through, trying to make up for that shortfall. But even in a fast-growing area like Union County, new home construction's always at the top's been 20, maybe 25% of the market. It's the existing home sale market. And for that, we use Zillow, RealtyTrack, Realtor.com. Get it right down to the address level, how long it's been on the market, how long it's sold for, property history. Everything about your house is public domain data. Instead of having to go down to the courthouse to get the data, now we just get it offline. That's going to be the key number because there is a rapidly, and you'll see from the population pyramids here in a second, a rapidly increasing over 65 population in this county over the next 10 years. Number I like to cite to people, the front end of the baby boom today is 76 years old and the peak is 67. 10 years from now, the front end of the baby boom is going to be 86 years old and the peak is going to be 77. They're going to start downsizing. The rate and magnitude of that transformation of old empty nest households moving out, allowing young households to come in with children is going to be the key dynamic. And that trend is not evenly spread across the district. We had Matt Cropper geocode your students again. That's where we put them all back in the home attendance area. Kind of tough to read on this screen. The green number is the students that both live and attend that particular school. Number across the top are the students that actually live in that attendance zone. And these are the ones enrolled in the school. The marginal numbers, these are ones who live outside the attendance area, transfer in, and these are the ones that transfer out. Okay, we have it for the elementary, the middle, and the high school. Very important too, because there's some latent grandfathering still going on from the last redistricting. A couple of outliers there, but this allowed us to go back and correlate the actual number of elementary age students living in the area to the demographic variables. And if it was available from the 2020 census, we used it. Sidebar for a second. You probably heard there's part of the 2020 census out. It is, but only 7 variables. The rest of the characteristics data doesn't come out till this month, next month, sometime in the summer. We don't know the quality of it yet, but it's going to come out. The redistricting file had 7 variables in it, and we used that. That data has been cleaned and vetted, and it's pretty good shape. But it was only 7 key variables. So then we also have it for the middle schools, works the same way. The green numbers are students that both live and attend that middle school area. Your marginals are those who live out and attend in, and those who live in the area and go someplace else. Because your outliers here is a little bit in Monroe. Now the high school, you'll see inflated numbers in the live in, attend out, because it also includes Central Academy, Early College, South Providence, and the Wolf. So these numbers tend to look a little bit higher because a lot of the attendance areas all have kids going to particularly Central Academy. And these are the ones who are transferring in. And again, the green numbers diagonally are the ones who both live and attend in that attendance area. And again, this allows us to put the kids back in their home attendance area and correlate them with the demographic variables. Okay, all this goes in the calculation of the population forecast, okay? Your 2020 census number is about 238,310. The district went up about 37,000 people and also increased about 12,200 housing units. Now, one thing I don't have up here, it's a key point, the persons per household dropped from 2.97 to 2.93, 0.01 over the last 10 years. Doesn't sound like much until you multiply it by 80,000 households. That's about 800 people. And a real crude measurement is 2.68 people, mom, dad, whatever the point is kids. So most of that 800 drop was 0 to 18-year-olds. Now, in the U.S., the drop was much more significant, 0.03, which doesn't sound like a lot too either until you multiply it by 120 million households. U.S. population grew by 22 million people last decade, our slowest growth rates in history, but it was still 22 million people. The under 18 population dropped by 1 million. That's a major trend going on here. And in Charlotte, Mecklenburg area, the metropolitan area is not immune to this. Now, there's 2 ways to read this. You can follow an age cohort over time. 0 or 5 to 9 here is basically your elementary age, going from 18.2, 16.9, 1600, then creeping back up 16.4, 16.2, or follow an age cohort through time. 0 to 4 becomes 5 to 9, 10 to 14, 15, 19, 20, 24. Across the bottom is median age. And like most areas of the country, and definitely most suburban areas, median age is going up from 39.9 to 43.5. These marginal columns are the components of change. Births basically staying pretty flat. Deaths going up, not because of COVID, but you have an aging population. You have more people in prime dying age. Natural increase is shrinking, as is most other areas of the country. Net migration. Now, this is net migration. How many people moving in, how many people moving out. So like the last Internal Revenue Service data, you had 16,500 people move in the district between 20 and 21, but you also had 12,200 moving out. So the net migration for that period was only about 4,000 people. These tend to be, and then there's this subsequent change. Now, one other factor in here, births, you'll notice 11,000 for the 5-year period versus 13,000. This is a trend you see in virtually every suburban area in the country. And Union County is no different. You don't have enough births in the county to maintain your enrollment. Currently, you're averaging about 2,700 students in first grade, but you only have about 2,450 births each year, about 250 short. So for example, your first grade cohort coming in this fall in 2023 is born in 2018 or 2017 at that point. 250 born in that cohort need to move into the district just for your enrollment to break even. There's a lot of people that will look and say, oh, I see all these people moving in. They want to add it to what you already have. not realizing there's a big preschool deficit. You need about 500 households moving in every year just to break even. That's a very, very key point. And again, that's spread differently amongst the district also. And it goes into the enrollment forecast. So now, COVID wreaked havoc on school enrollment all over the country. The average school district lost between 3 and 7% of their enrollment during the first year of COVID. You're about 3.2, so you're the lower end of the scale. Then you bounce back up to 379. Now, this is where it gets confusing to people when they we had this great growth last year, 2%. We're up 779 people. Those 1,335 declined. They did not leave the district for the most of them. They just chose other educational options. A lot of this increase is not people moving into the district, but students returning to the public schools. And you don't want to confuse the two. So if you're correlating that to what you're seeing in building and home sales, you're going to overestimate it, okay? Now, and particularly for a district with a history of growth like Union County has, you're going to return to more typical growth rates in the next 2 or 3 years. But then it starts going into decline mode. And why is that? Well, my old analogy, the bucket of water. A bucket of water, I'm pouring water in the top and there's a hole in the bottom. As long as I'm pouring in faster than it's going out the bottom, level will rise. But if for some reason the hole in the bottom gets bigger, it's now going out faster than I'm pouring it in, the level will drop. Well, the hole in the bottom of your bucket's going to get bigger. Over the last 10 years, where did I write that? Must be here. Yeah. Over the last 10 years, your average 12th grade class has averaged 3,100 students. Over the next 10 years, they're going to average about 3,400. So if you were to maintain the same growth rate, you're going to need 300 more students coming in on top of what you've already got moving into the district, just to maintain that same growth rate. So it's no surprise that when the 12th grade graduating classes get to 3,500, you start seeing a decline the next year. 3,400, 34, 33. These are much bigger than the 3,100 you had before and the less than 3,000s earlier. So that's why you're kind of seeing this growth kind of level out. The first grade kindergarten enrollments stay pretty flat. You're going to have a healthy in-migration flow, and your biggest in-migration flows come from Mecklenburg County. About almost 40% of all your in-migration is coming from Mecklenburg County. I know it seems like they're coming from, all up north. They're not. In fact, it's 3/4 of them are within probably 50 miles of Union County. York, Lancaster also has a big flow. Some of the other collar counties around Mecklenburg. That flow is sustained. It'll be strong. You still have young households moving in, but you have a fast-growing empty nest population. And this is a great example out here, right up here by Walter Bickett. You got all that building going on Waxhaw Highway. But there's all those subdivisions that they've built there the last 5-10 years coming down this road. So yeah, you've got new households moving in that new construction, but all those households that people moved into 5 years ago, 5 years from now, all their kids have moved on to middle and high school. And a lot of the housing units with school-age kids in them, particularly in the western and to a certain extent some of the northwestern part of the district, they'll still have kids in them, but they're all going to be middle and high schoolers as that wave goes through your school system. So you'll need that new construction bring in new households, because most of these people that moved to these houses the last 5 or 7 years are not going to sell and downsize as soon as their last kid graduates high school. So that's a kind of a broad view of your macro trends. And I got that done in 17 minutes, and that's a record for me. So clearly they've all heard me speak before, so.
All right, so I see a lot of facts here around single-family housing. You're talking about the children growing up, the parents staying in, becoming empty nesters. What about all the multifamily units that we see going up? Stallings, Indian Trail, Waxhaw.
That's a good point, because single family and multifamily have two completely different demographic dynamics, okay? Multifamily, they tend to be younger. We call apartments family formation areas. You don't come out of college and buy a house, you come out of college and rent an apartment. Then you get married, start having kids, but most people don't want to raise their kids in an apartment, okay? So in these apartments, you'll see, and they're all loaded with kids, but there's a large amount of preschoolers, which is good for the district because you get a preschool deficit. But the kids per household and the school-age kids per household, there's a pretty good sized gap between those two numbers. And also apartment dwellers move an average every 2 years. Homeowners tend to be older. Because of that, they're wealthier, have completed their family formation. They may have a kid or two when they move in, but most of them are either preschool or already aging in, and they move an average every 14 years. So the apartments have a much more churn, because when the oldest kid gets to be about 4, 5, 6 years old, if they have the economic resources to do so, they're out looking to buy a house, probably someplace else in the district. And then a new household moves in, the whole process starts again. So it's a very quick turnover. For single family existing homes, it takes like 20, 25, 30, 35 years for the whole thing to turn over. Does that make sense? Okay.
It does, yeah. I guess where I'm going, like you talk about the 6.5% interest rates, right? So
Yeah.
like I have 20-something-year-old children. They're not in the home buying market right now because
Right.
of the high interest rates. And in Union County, I mean, at their annual salaries, there's no way
Right.
they're moving into Marvin and,
Right.
taking out a mortgage.
Right.
So,
And in this area, they're moving into apartments in Mecklenburg. They're building them to beat the band in there, all those young professionals apartments and all that, going up like the Blue Line, things like that. Wonderful. Yeah, you don't see any kids, school-age kids come out of those things. You don't even see that many preschoolers come out. They're not designed for them. That's why I think the apartments out here are a little more, I think, attractive to young households with school-age kids. But again, I'll go back to my fundamental point, particularly with, if they're charging over $2,000 a month for rent, no one's going to raise their kid in the apartment because they're not built for kids. They're not really kid-friendly. And most people just don't want to do that. So if you have the economic resources, particularly if you're in a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment, it's not that much more, even with 6.5 interest rates, to go to a starter home. Now, you may not be able to afford something out in Weddington, but you can probably get something in another part of the district, and that's one of the reasons they're out here is schools close to work, more housing types that they would like to see is pretty much restricted in there. There's a multitude of factors that are going in that migration decision-making process.
okay, thank you.
I got one question. I guess you've been doing this a while for us. How have your previous forecasts stack up to the actual numbers?
Somehow I knew someone was going to ask that question. Last forecast, and this is after COVID. Remember, I did my first forecast right when COVID hit, out of 41,083 students, I was off by 139 or 0.3%. Thank you. Always use a fresh chicken when you're forecasting. But now one of the reasons for that is part of it, frankly honest, was luck. And the luck part of it was we recognized right off the bat that this was not out-migration, okay? This was people making a different educational choice in the depth of COVID. And the 3 to 7% has been pretty standard across the country. You pretty much have that for 9% of school districts. The wild card has been the return factor. And I have seen everything across this country from a 100% coming back like you guys to maybe half. I've seen districts with 2-3 years of continuous declines on it. And that goes into the economy, the policies during COVID, parents, how they felt about safety in their students and all that. There's a myriad of factors going in there. You guys all came back. Most suburban school districts, and that's most, I mean like 80, 90%, saw them all come back eventually. But a lot of districts didn't see them all come back. So we assumed in the forecast that they were all going to come back. So.
Did you take into account in your studies the school capacities?
Nope.
Correct? No?
Nope.
All right. Can you identify, based on your information, any particular hot areas that we're going to have to, that are over for a consistent growth, that we're going to have to consider changes or construction or additions?
Would you like the polite answer or the honest answer?
Honest answer.
The ones you didn't change enough when we did the redistricting 3 years ago are the ones you're going to have trouble with, the same ones you're having trouble with right now. Antioch, 5 years ago? Has it been 5? My God, time flies, you're having fun. Antioch, Rocky, probably Waxhaw a little bit. The ones that you didn't want to make the radical changes to 5 years ago are coming back and to haunt you now. I mean, when you did the boundaries the last time, even with the one at that point in time, Antioch was at 100%. We knew the growth was coming in. So those are the ones you're getting the problems at. The one that's kind of cropped up that's since then because of other factors is probably out here Walter Beckett. I'd keep an eye out here because that large subdivision they're building on Waxhaw Highway, if that's a 5-year build out or a 6-year build out, probably okay. If it's a 3-year build out, you're going to have some problems in Walter Beckett. But again, I think a lot of that's going to dictate how much impact this 6.5% interest rate is going to be this summer. So you'll know by August, because if they're not selling them fast enough, the builders will dial back on that. So.
Because right now, Walter Beckett is at 58% of capacity. I know you don't look at
Right.
that, but we do.
Right. So you got plenty of room.
We have room.
Right. As long as they don't build it on 2 years.
Exactly.
Build them 6 years, no problem. So, but, and you're going to have to add more space to, or more territory to review or programs or something because it's dropping again already. Like it's been
We
doing the
added a
last 10 years.
DLI program.
There you go.
Yep, we did.
I love it when people listen to me.
We heard you.
Okay.
How about Wesley Chapel? The Wesley Chapel Elementary.
The thing that concerns me about Wesley Chapel is the turnover rate. And I'll have to be brutally honest with you, that's a wild card right now, you know. A lot of myself and a lot of my friends in cohort are all trying to downsize right now. You know, we can get a bucket load for our house, but we put that and 100,000 more into where we want to move to, you know. Well, why should I move? And so this is why we're seeing that we're just staying put. We don't have to move. Same thing there, you know. If those empty nesters decide, well, I'm not going to get any better than this for my house, the market starts to crack, let's get out while the getting's good, you may see a parade of young households moving in there because they're probably a little more competitive for a starter home price than you would see in other parts of the district. So it has an advantage there, you know. And again, that's why I think these next 4 months are critical to see how that higher interest rate really affects home sales. And what I would recommend the board and the public to do once a week, maybe twice a month or some, get on Zillow, Realty Track, you know, Realtor.com, see how the housing market's doing. You know, it should be going up right now. And if it's not matching last year's numbers, there's going to be a problem, okay? And you'll know right off the bat. And then you'll see that problem in your fall enrollment numbers. We're still going to do the evaluation next September like we always do, which is not a recalculation, it's just an evaluation. So, and see how we're tracking on that. But that's the first variable I'm looking at is how your existing home sales been going.
We've also, like I'm sure all the other parts of the country seen a trend 55 and over neighborhoods.
Right.
Do you tend to find they really do end up 55 and over and less than the average student population comes out of those neighborhoods because they are empty nesters or older children if they're at home?
That's a really good point and question too, because it depends on how strictly they enforce 55 and older. Okay. And it has been my experience, particularly over the last couple of years. I've seen some places, if you're not 55, you can't live there unless you got some kind of a waiver. You bring a kid in, it better be gone in 2 days, because your grandson, real strict on that. And they're becoming more strict, I'm noticing on that. However, I've noticed these 55 and over communities where we're going to bend the rules, we'll let some people in there. Within 5 or 6 years, it's no longer a 55 and over community, it's general housing, okay? So what's the old saying? Camel gets his nose in the tent, forks all over, the whole camel's in the tent, works the same way, So if they're real strict in enforcing it, you'll see 0 kids coming out of there. They don't even want school buses turning around in the driveway there, So it depends on how aggressively they're going to enforce that rule. Thank you very much. Any questions come up? Thank you. And any questions come up, they know how to get a hold of me. Thank you.
Next up is public comment. At every regular meeting of the board, up to 60 minutes have been allotted for public comments. The board will not respond to public comments. However, a member may ask that the chair obtain clarification. Residents, parents, students, and employees of the district will receive priority on the list of speakers. If a speaker is not present when his or her name is called, the opportunity to speak will be considered waived. Only persons signed up may speak. Speakers may not give their time to another person or have someone else speak on their behalf. Speakers may address the board for a maximum of 3 minutes. The board will not hear an open session. 1, complaints about the performance of school personnel. 2, personnel issues. 3, confidential student issues. Should a speaker wish to seek information or share items that may not be shared during public comments, members of the UCPS cabinet staff are able to address your concerns or provide information. Cabinet staff members are seated at the table to my left. First up is Terry Manning.
Good evening. Just listen to me for a minute. She, her, he, him, they, them. This is just 6 of 23 plus pronouns. Transgender, two-spirit, non-binary, genderqueer, gender neutral, third gender, pangender, agender. Just 8 of 58 plus genders. We went from LGB to LGBTQIA plus. This is where we're at. This is literally the hill we're all willing to die on. The prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain responsible for making good decisions, and it's one of the last to mature, your mid-20s. So all of this stuff has the capability of becoming a social disorder, just like we saw with bulimia. Bulimia was noted in the early 1800s, but all it took was a highly influential book to pop up in Hollywood to talk about it, until thousands of girls, 15 to 19, were puking. This is no different than what we will create if this stuff is pushed and fostered in our public school system. To disagree with parents of gay and transgender kids does not mean that we hate you or your kids. We just don't want indoctrination of our children, which is the process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs, which is exactly your attempt here. It's unsustainable to expect our school board to allow for all of these distractions that are completely unnecessary. Your child doesn't need to be allowed a pride flag in the classroom to support their homosexuality any more than our children have a right to a poster of Adam and Eve in the classroom to support their heterosexuality. There doesn't have to be a Black Lives Matter banner in the classroom when I think we could or should all agree that every precious child in that classroom matters. And removing inappropriate books, why would any parent disagree? When in this tainted society did we start thinking it was okay for our children under 18 to have material at their fingertips on how to give a blowjob? Voting that anything in the classroom be required to represent America, North Carolina, or the school itself is a simplified way, a sensical way for the school board to not have to play favorites to any particular group in the public school system. The purpose of public education should be to help children grow into educated, self-sufficient adults using traditional core academic subjects. So how about this? You do you, and let us do us, and let's all let the school board do what they know is right. Thank you.
Next up is Erin Muldoon.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I first wanted to mention a meeting that I had attended last week regarding safety measures the district has in place for our children. They are listening, I assure you. In conjunction with the Union County Sheriff's Office and local police departments, they have an amazing team of SROs who take the safety of our children very seriously. They're constantly considering parent recommendations and taking the ever-changing climate into account when making decisions regarding our children's safety. So on behalf of myself and my children, I thank you. And I also wanted to show support for the policy 5-1 and encourage you to pass this tonight for our district. Classroom displays should be about curriculum. The classroom is not a place for social justice. We should be nurturing an educational environment and refrain from telling children what to think. Our children, each and every one, all need to be supported, and that goes without saying. If we give children the sense that a flag, a symbol, a sticker, or a badge means that they are safe and or supported, we are giving them a false sense of security. Our children face challenges each and every day. It's our job as parents and schools to help build their character and face these challenges, and this needs to come from within. If we begin to selectively support them as different groups, we are creating a divide. There are things about each and every child that should be celebrated and supported. We are not setting our children up for success if we assure them the world needs to create spaces that they individually identify with. If that is the case, we need to have the flags of every nation, the symbols of all religious and political affiliations. School, while it can be a nurturing environment, it is a place for education. Dividing our community by what we identify with, in my opinion, would be detrimental. I would love to see our kids stand as one under our nation's great flag, as we are one nation under God, indivisible. Thank you.
Next up, Reagan Shaw.
Right. I just want to say all that ignores the Trevor Project statistics, what the actual problem is that we're trying to address when we create safe spaces. I just want to welcome Equality NC who are here tonight. Equality NC are the longest standing state-based LGBTQ advocacy organization in the United States. They've been going strong since 1979 and work in close collaboration with the North Carolina branch of the ACLU based out of Raleigh. We are all keeping a close eye on events here in Union. With regards to proposed changes to Policy 501, the stakeholders were given no coherent information about the implementation process and the policy's intent. This necessary information is required for stakeholders to properly feedback to the board about the policy's impact. You will vote on it today, having refused to engage with the democratic process. There is a reason you have not answered simple questions. Getting away with discrimination is tricky. You're hoping no one, especially not teachers, will ask for too much clarification in writing. You want teachers to hear the dog whistle and be intimidated while you virtue signal to your Moms for Liberty Club. This won't stand. Questions about the policy will only grow in the weeks and months to come, and you will talk either to me or to attorneys. Now I would like to draw the public's attention to a book that had no business being banned. I and many others will fight to make sure this discriminatory act will never be allowed to take place in Union County again. The corrective course of action will depend on how much the board cooperates to solve the problem, both for this book and for future book challenges with respect to Policy 501. In November, a Moms for Liberty member who happens to be the person speaking right after me at tonight's meeting objected to this book because she said sexuality should be taught at home. This book, Old MacDonald Had a Baby, has no sex in it. It is a children's picture book. It is about a farmer who takes care of his little baby with the help of farm animals. At the beginning of the book, the farmer waves goodbye to his spouse who is leaving for work. At the end of the book, the spouse comes home from work to a tired, happy family. What Moms for Liberty members mean when they say they want sexuality to be taught at home is they want representations of what appear to be two daddy families or two mommy families to be hidden away from children's sight. But heterosexual families, representations of their heterosexuality, can be kept in the libraries. This is wrong. All families should be treated equally. Representation of heterosexual orientations cannot have special treatment. Ms. Heinzel, this is your board. I have 2 questions for you. I know you say you don't answer questions in this forum, but we know that you sometimes do. Number 1, why are you banning the representation of gay parents in Union County elementary schools? And number 2, why do you think one type of family should be treated differently from another? Your silence to our questions throughout all these months speaks volumes.
Next up is Sally McAteer.
Thank you. I have 3 children, 2 that attend a school in the Piedmont cluster. After last month's meeting, I was appalled at the media reporting and the inaccurate information that was being said about this school board. The changes of media resources are to clearly define appropriate content, meaning content would be considered inappropriate, including but not limited to sexually explicit or graphic material. The legal term sexually explicit means sexual intercourse of any kind, bestiality, rape, and masturbation. I am not sure why anyone wants that list in the hands of a child. We as a society do not allow minors to view this type of content. YouTube, Twitter, all media sources have sexually explicit policies. Even Hollywood rates movies. Theaters enforce that rating. No one is screaming First Amendment right violation to a theater when they turn away a 14-year-old from watching an R-rated movie. No one is calling the theater movie banners. Democratic First Lady Tipper Gore implemented parental warnings on music with explicit lyrics. Keeping explicit material out of the hands of minors exists everywhere because it's our duty to not give children what they're not ready for. But yet this board is getting called book burners, for writing a policy that's taking sexually explicit material out of the hands of children. Last week, without permission, someone posted a screenshot of a book called Beloved by Toni Morrison that I posted. Toni Morrison is an award-winning author, and she has written many amazing books. Most of us have read them in college. What they screenshot was only the part that I blotted out words and staked the claim that I posted the book because of racism, and that is false. Facebook banned the post because the words in the book are inappropriate. I had to blot out the racist slurs and the homophobic language that the book had just to be in line with Facebook's policy. You see, everyone in the United States has policy against these things. I do not condone racist slurs or homophobic language, but in Beloved, that was not my key issue. What they didn't share or screenshot was that there were encounters with a sexually explicit term of men having intercourse with cows and with calves on their farm, also with women in sexually explicit terms. That was my problem with the book being in a child's hands. UCPS School Board, your job is not easy. I thank you for using sound judgment on this policy change, and I thank you for keeping sexually explicit material out of the hands of children in our district. Thank you.
Next, Jen Sanders.
Okay. There we go. Hi.
Jen Sanders, she, he, or she, her, sorry. Okay, so the policy that would potentially ban the following books if it was to go in terms. Captain Underpants, because he's wearing underpants, or disobedient behavior. Where the Sidewalk Ends, for reference to drugs, suicide, and death. The Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, because of graphic violence and gore, they say. I Am Jazz, who talks about her journey as a transgender child. Where the Wild Things Are, for being too dark and supernatural elements. Hansel and Gretel, for cannibalism and gruesomeness, which is gross, but it's a child's fairy tale. A Wrinkle in Time, for witchcraft. Tango and Makes Three, based on the true story about two male penguins in the New York Central Park Zoo. The Giving Tree, for sexual content being described as a tree giving to others. Fighting Ground, about a brother and a cousin who fought against the British during the Revolutionary War for profanity. Anne Frank, The Diary of a Young Girl, under the guidelines of sexually explicit material, but actually feels, quote, like a downer of a book. Mouse, the honest betrayal of the Holocaust. New Kid, a book about the only student of color in the school based on his real-life experiences. The Watsons Go to Birmingham, a book about visiting Alabama in 1963. A Day in June, about the history, about how pride parades got their start. The Roll of Thunder, Hear Me Cry, written in 1976, about a black family in Mississippi living through the Great Depression in the 1930s. That's only 16 books that I have referenced that are open for being removed from our schools based on this policy. As a parent, if my child chooses to read a book, I should be happy that they don't have their face in a computer, which they can learn all the other things from that. Where, mind you, or if you choose as a parent not to have your kids read those books, then you choose your child not to go to the library, and that's okay. But that's your family's choice. Do not decide to take away the choice of other students based on a handful of people. Just because they helped you get elected doesn't mean they have to follow their every wish and command. As for the flags and signage, I would again ask that how many of you are educators? Have you decorated a classroom? You are going to pin the teachers against each other and against administration. All the facts that don't like, all because you don't like the flag. So all I'm asking is that if you guys could just be a little bit more open-minded, and I've lost my place, it doesn't really matter. And there you go. Thank you very much.
Next up is Maria Reed.
Good evening. I want to share with you a recent event as part of my comment because it is very alarming and it's spreading. A transgender representative in Minnesota has introduced a bill that will remove the exclusion of pedophiles from the protected class of sexual orientation. If adopted, pedophilia would become a protected sexual characteristic. This means it would be illegal to discriminate against child rapists. Did you know there are 105 gender identities? You can Google it. Some websites even say there are 112 gender identities. For example, amica gender is the gender that changes depending on which friend or group you're with. Delicia gender is the gender when one feels they have multiple genders but prefers one over the other. Cloud gender is the gender that cannot be fully realized or seen clearly due to depersonalization or derealization disorder. There are also over 50 LGBTQ flags, and each symbolizes different gender identities and sexual orientations. To have all LGBTQ students feel included, a school would need to allow all these 50 flags. That's 47 more flags than the USA flag, the North Carolina flag, and the school spirit flag together. While usually the general rainbow pride flag serves as an umbrella for all the LGBTQ flags, some students may want to have their own specific flag. What would happen if a school approved the general rainbow flag and after a few months, some students demanded to have their own gender-specific flag because they don't feel included enough? Should schools also have a flag for heterosexuals so that heterosexual students don't feel left out? I've heard a few say sometimes gay and trans students are being bullied in schools. I'm deeply saddened to hear that. Bullying is wrong, and it hurts knowing any child is bullied. However, bullying in schools has been going on since before we knew of any genders other than male and female. Kids bully because they are missing discipline and kindness, not because there are no pride flags in schools. Gender identity is a personal feeling about one's identity and sexuality. It has nothing to do with school curriculum, activities, and subject. It is not school related, not school appropriate, and it should stay out of schools. Students don't need more division. Students don't need more flags. Students need to be united under one flag of the United States of America. Thank you.
Next up is Abigail Prado. Did I say the last name right?
I am here tonight to speak in favor of the classroom display policy. Union County Public Schools need to provide students with a neutral learning environment free from political biases, identity politics, and social justice issues. Teachers and educators need to focus on basic educational fundamentals: reading, writing, math, science, and history. Students should not be influenced by their educators' political beliefs or sexual orientations. In fact, UCPS needs to create and maintain an environment where students have no knowledge of their educators' political views. Requiring classroom displays to be curriculum specific will not alienate students or create hostile classroom environments. Teachers are more than capable of creating safe space environments for their students without the use of political or gender identity materials. I want to thank the Union County School Board for the continued work they have done to keep our schools focused on education and not on divisive political policies. Our children deserve to have schools and classrooms that are focused on common sense educational policies and not politics. I fully support the classroom display policy that will be voted on soon. Thank you for your time.
Next up is John Janpool.
Good evening, Board of Education and Union County Public Schools. I would like to first start off by thanking Mr. Sides for meeting with Jared and I at your office to discuss the abuse and bullying by the theater teacher at CATA. Dr. Tyson, I would also like to thank you for meeting with me for over 2 hours to discuss the same. To date, nothing has been done to rectify this ongoing situation. I'm here tonight to put on record that both the Board of Education and Union County Public Schools has been made aware of the situation with Jared on numerous occasions, and both departments fell short on acting upon this. If the same situation that occurred with Jared occurs to another student, and that student, instead of handling the situation as graciously as Jared did, acts in a manner that we see all too often on TV, leaving the public wondering, how did this happen? Why did this occur? Know that it is usually preventable. If both departments were made aware and you choose to handle that student's issues in the same manner that you handled my son's, then you could share equal blame. Union County Public Schools, along with many other school systems, have a motto: see something, say something. I have received numerous emails from Union County Public Schools over the years regarding someone defacing bathrooms, and anonymous tip lines have been set up to report those who witnessed the events. Why is a bathroom receiving more attention and of more importance than a student who is being bullied? Why have an anonymous tip line when situations like Jared are being reported? Why are you treating us not only as if we were anonymous, but also invisible? Every child is taught to dial 911. I printed this off your website, the Union County Public School website, about 5:30 right before I came here, which is the tip line, as well as where you could make a comment, say something, anonymous reporting system, whether you want your information to be known or unknown. Every child is taught to call 911 if there's an emergency. If this panel here, the Board of Education and the Union County Public School System, if you're the operators on the other end of the 911, and Jared is calling, and the message that he's receiving when that call is going through, or trying to go through, as the number has been changed to an unpublished number, that's how you are treating my son. If you're failing my son in that capacity, you are failing others as well, other children as well. And personally, you do not belong on this board or in charge of children in any capacity, even if yourself are parents. Dr. Tyson, why did you call Mr. Sides a minimum of 3 times during our meeting with him? I can only think of one reason, that both departments cover each other's back and that it is at the expense of a minor student. As you know, the press has been apprised of the situation with my son. I would strongly advise that you take abuse and bullying a lot more serious. Have a nice evening.
Next up is Brian Talbert. There he is.
My name is Brian Talbert, and I'm the North Carolina Director for Gays Against Groomers. We're a national organization made up of close to 500,000 followers, and we stand against the sexualization and indoctrination of children under the guise of LGBT inclusion. I'm here to speak about the inappropriate flags and banners being displayed in the classrooms. People claim that they need these flags displayed in order for them to feel like they're accepted. As a gay man, I can assure you that the Marxist progressive pride flag hanging on a wall has never done anything to benefit a young gay or lesbian child ever. Today, young gays have more acceptance than at any time in our history. This Marxist movement currently being pushed in our schools has a sinister agenda. It is an agenda that is teaching young kids to hate themselves and our nation. We have seen all over the country in recent years the rise of those claiming that they are part of the LGBT community, especially among millennials, where 1 in 4 children now identify as LGBT, and that's 25%. That's way above the national. This shows us one thing and one thing only, that the grooming is working. The majority of these kids, if left alone, and I can provide anyone with these studies, the majority of kids are not even LGBT. They feel that they are just, I honestly feel that they are being influenced. Studies have shown that if left alone, 80% of these children grow out of it and would go on to become healthy, young gay men and lesbians. But their future is being robbed from the ones who are adult, pushing their own sick agendas, convincing them that to hate themselves or that they were born in the wrong body. I can assure you there is no child that has been born in the wrong body. So with that, I'll say I do support you, taking care of this and finally standing for our children. Thank you.
Next up is Rebby Kern.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair and members of the board. My name is Rebby Kern, and I'm the Director of Education Policy at Equality North Carolina. I've been working to support youth and families, not only regionally, but statewide and also across the country. And I love my job in county public schools, but I also have really challenging parts of my job. When families come to me and they've hit barriers with their school administration, their school counselors, or even students with their peers, not really knowing the best way to approach on how to find a common ground and help their young people feel safe and seen in school every day. And this can range everything from high schoolers looking to research North Carolinians like Polly Murray, but having some of that research blocked because Polly Murray is out bisexual, or even all the way down to not being able to access school support clubs like GSAs in this district and beyond. We know that blanket policies like Policy 5.1 can impact and actually cause more harm and impact more students than maybe what the intended limitation is supposed to be. We know that it also fails to address young people in the best practice ways. Young people deserve to be seen in the classroom every day, to have their families represented in picture books, in novels, and in school curriculum all the time. And a part of my job that's the worst is hearing when young people contemplate their own lives. I've seen it way too much here in our state and even across the country every year. We know that young people don't grow up hating themselves or feeling like they don't have a place in the world. But sometimes asking them to stay in the closet or remain quiet about who they are, who their parents are, can actually have more harm than good in the long run of things. I believe that passing Policy 5.1 could actually become another slippery slope for Union County Public Schools like we've seen in other places in the state and also in the country. We need young people to feel enthusiastic support and have their parents welcomed into the district all the time. I'll leave you with my favorite part of the job, getting reflections from students and their families of what happens when they're seen, when they're supported, and when they're able to graduate and rock across the stage and know that at least one educator saw them, said that they support them, and that their families can recognize that name for a lifetime. My hope tonight is that you all consider the true implications of this policy and ask that you consider the younger version of me that needed to be seen in school. Thank you.
Did I get everybody who signed up? Okay, so we're done with public comments. Next up is I need a motion to approve the open session meetings from March 27th and April 4th.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, they go. Now I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Did I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. All in favor? Aye. Against? 8-1. Okay. Next up is the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Board. Last Friday was a very special day for Union County Public Schools. Along with Wingate University, we celebrated the accomplishments of our 2023 Wayfind Scholars. This group is the first cohort of students who entered the program in 2019 as 8th graders at Monroe Middle and East Union Middle. We are pleased to announce that all of our scholars who are graduating this year will attend Wingate University on a full ride scholarship. It is such an honor to see this program come full circle, and I want to congratulate the scholars and their families. I also want to thank the Wingate University staff, mentors, and staff at Monroe Middle, East Union Middle, Monroe High, and Forest Hills, and our central services team. Board, as you know, one of the hallmarks of culture and climate in our school is the fact that many of our schools have adopted Leader in Me, and part of the signature certification status for that entity is called Lighthouse Status. We are pleased to let you all know that, and we want to congratulate Prospect Elementary and Sandy Ridge Elementary for recently achieving Lighthouse Status. These schools now join the ranks of more than 600 schools across the nation, across the world that hold this distinction. This is a huge accomplishment, and I want to give a special shout out to the Lighthouse teams, which include students, teachers, and staff from both schools. I also want to say congratulations to Deputy Zach Pullen, our 2023 School Resource Officer of the Year. He is the SRO at Fairview and Porter Ridge Elementary Schools. Big shout out to our law enforcement partners and to all of our SROs for their continued support and efforts to keep our students and staff safe. We certainly value that partnership. And finally, in 2 nights on Thursday, we will celebrate educators from around the county at the U Awards. Play on you. We plan to name our beginning Teacher of the Year, Assistant Principal of the Year, and Principal of the Year. Stay tuned to our social media pages and website for the announcements and highlights from the event. Board members, that concludes my report. Thank you.
That's really good.
I've never gotten an applause from a report. Thank you.
Go. Look at that. Next up is laptop refresh for grades 6 through 12. Mr. Parker.
Hey, good afternoon, Chairman Heintola and Vice Chair Reverend Benchin and board members. Tonight, I'm excited to provide a recommendation for grades 6 through 12 Chromebooks. We have gone through a rigorous process, which follows our hardware life cycle of replacing devices every 5 years. and be it staff or student Chromebooks, we follow the same process. In your packets is our rubric scorecard that we provide to all of our stakeholders are involved in this decision. It is not made in technology services. It follows a structured process. I'll highlight what our structured process is. On March 13th, we submitted an agnostic bid for any vendor for Chromebooks, and we kept that open through March 31st. We had 18 vendors provide feedback to us, gave us complete bids. They range from Asus to HP to Dell to Lenovo. Those are in your packets also. The range in price went from $340 to $566 per device. That information is also in your packets. It includes a 5-year warranty. All of them have the 11.6 screens, which are similar to what you've seen for any Chromebook that fit in backpacks. They have 32 gig hard drives, 4 gig memories. They have the 802.11 Wi-Fi connectivity devices. These are compatible with all of the technology requirements as of today. So they'll meet our future testing and instructional needs. So we finished that process on March 31st. We did an evaluation with them for 2 weeks. We took them apart. We invited stakeholders from parents, teachers, students, staff, cabinet, and we collected all of this data, brought it back. We narrowed it to 3 vendors, which was HP, Dell, and Lenovo. And in your packets are compiled scores for what we have as our recommendation. Lenovo received the highest recommendation at 93.18. Our HP got a 72.44, and our Dell got a 66.89. And this was based on the hardware components, the accidental damage protection, and the relationship with the vendor and the availability of parts over 5 years. So tonight, I'm just here to make a recommendation that we want to award this bid to Lenovo because of the completeness of the project, of what they provide with accidental damage. The price total is $4 million less than the highest one that we had in the bids. The total cost is $8.9 million minus taxes and financing for the cost of the devices. These will be distributed in the 23-24 school year when the students return this next year. I want to thank all of our stakeholders, parents who showed up and gave us their feedback, for students who gave us that information and helped us make this decision. So I put all the information here, and I'm open to any questions.
Each student in 6 through 12 will get a new refreshed laptop. Is that correct?
That is correct. We will purchase 27,500 Chromebooks, and in those grade levels, we have approximately 24,500 students. So they will all receive one, and the surplus extra will carry sustainability over the next few years as far as broken, lost, damaged devices carry us over that 5-year period.
They keep their laptop, and it goes through 12
Yeah,
if they want to.
And we were doing that with the, what is it, $30? Is it
$30
the
tech fee.
That,
Yep.
And we want to make sure that parents are aware of that's going to be something, right, that they
Yes.
have to, yeah.
Yes.
that is correct.
And that's going to be yearly.
Yes, it's
a
yearly.
$30 or so, something.
Yes, and that provides some funding for the repairs and sustainability of the project. So we ensure that every child has a working device that is compatible for instruction over that 5-year period.
Are we going to get them all in by next school year? We will.
Yeah, we have a process that we have communicated out and set some frameworks around them for collections. And we'll collect 3 through 12. Obviously, we're going to collect all the ones that go home. And we will retain the 3 through 5. They'll go back out next year. In 2 years, I'll be back before you making a recommendation for the next device. And the 6 through 12, we'll give out the new ones coming this next school year. When open houses occur, when students come back, they'll receive all new devices, which will ensure that we meet all the testing requirements coming in the Canvas upgrades. Those are moving quickly, and our Chromium operating systems are being outdated. So we want to ensure that they have a device that's effective.
Any other questions?
Not so much a question, Madam Chair, just a brief comment. Ms. Parker, I want to thank you and your team. You all have provided such great technological services to us. You know, even today I was a beneficiary of some of that skill. But you all do a great job. We tend to not have problems where a lot of companies, schools, whatever, have problems with their technology. Thank you for knocking on wood. But you and your team, I just want to say out loud just how proud I am of the work you all do.
Thank you, sir. I'm very proud of our team. We work hard every day behind the scenes. You normally don't notice us. It's kind of like your power's on, the Wi-Fi works, your connectivity works, applications work. But we work really hard, and I'll pass on those comments to my team. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Madam Chair, with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 6-12 laptop refresh.
Second.
with Lenovo, right? Okay,
Yes.
Yes, the recommendation with Lenovo.
great. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, fiscal year 24 budget proposal.
Good evening. I'm back again. So in your packet is a presentation that we went through as part of the superintendent's recommendation. I'll just highlight a few of the changes. As I told you all before, we continue to refine numbers and update as we have available information. So I have made a few updates. We received some of the funding increase that we discussed at our joint meeting from the county's projection for the bifurcated budget. I have shown that increase. It's approximately $800,000. So the difference in our request and some of the adjustments that we have made brings our request down almost $1 million. So the overage, so right now we're projecting, or the county has provided information that projects our funding increase next year of a little over $5 million. Now, I've been in conversation with them as well. I know another question that was brought up during our joint meeting was related to the SRO funding from last year. The county staff indicated they're working through the funding mechanism and how they're going to be able to provide that money. I have not adjusted for that as of yet. I was waiting for confirmation from them on how we needed to do that, but I will be glad to make those adjustments prior to submission. Can you hear me still? Okay, prior to submission of the budget request to the BOCC. Are there any questions from anyone?
Quick question. Ms. McMahon, you indicated that in talking with county staff, that they said they're working through the process by which to do that. Did you feel as though that working through the process was, you're getting this, we just need to see how you're going to get it, or if we can give it?
I took it as they're identifying where it's coming from so that they can confirm we can get it. We have scheduled some staff-to-staff discussion. So I'm hoping to have confirmation maybe next week.
We were at a joint meeting and they said that they were going to give us the $1 million. So I think we all agree that we should put it in the budget.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that.
Would you like to have a motion to that effect, since it's our
Great,
budget?
thank you.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. We have Ms. McLam in the appropriate place that she feels on the budget information, that we add the promise, return actually, $1 million that was, we were directed by the previous Board of Commissioners to utilize for SROs. I'm sorry, go
Can you
ahead.
put it in operating?
It would go in operating, yes, where it came from. Just a little background. Last year, at the last minute, 23rd hour, the previous Board of County Commissioners redirected $1 million of our operating budget to fund for additional SROs. This is a total break with traditionally the way this has been funded in the past. Usually the sheriff, who handles all the training and responsibility for supervision for the SROs, it would be a part of his budget. So I am very pleased that we already have oral anyway commitments that funding will be returned. And so as I said, my motion is to add that to the budget now.
I second that motion. Aye.
Does anyone else have any questions about the budget? Sorry. I'm off. Does anyone else have any questions? I know what I'm doing.
Just so I know the answer to this question, but could you or anyone else, your latest information on what the state is going to do as far as pay increases for teaching staff and change in the state stipend?
I have no new information to share. I really have not heard anything from any of the DPI staff or any information out of the General Assembly that indicates if there's not. Yeah.
It's my understanding the budget that passed the State House included a 10% increase over 2 years. So that's what you've projected in the budget, a 5% increase this year, correct?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? No more questions? I would like a motion to approve to approve the budget and make it ours.
So moved, Madam Chair.
All in favor? As
Aye.
amended, as amended.
As amended.
Yes.
Now, the only other thing.
All in favor? No. Got
Aye.
it, okay.
The only other thing I did want to mention that I forgot until you did that, I will make once we have all of final financing information, you all just approve the laptop request. So once I have final numbers, I use projected numbers in the capital budget. I will make sure it will not be any higher. It will hopefully be less, but I will make those refinements. And once we complete all of it, I will send a copy of the budget to the full board before I submit it to the county. So you all have the same copy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Next is policies, and we don't have any, just policies.
Yes, before you tonight, you have 4 policies that are proposed for revision and 1 proposed new policy. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer those. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next up is comments from the board.
Madam Chair, I just want to report I'm fully back.
That's great. Yay. No pain, no nothing. Yep.
Sorry. I just wanted to say it's a Teacher Appreciation Week. I feel like it's 2 weeks this year for some reason. So as a volunteer since 2007, it's always been my favorite time of year. So thank you to all the teachers, staff. We appreciate you.
Yay. And you are some kind of volunteer too. You are some kind of volunteer. She really loves it.
Okay, anybody else? Nope.
I just wanted, since we're having our Teacher of the Year among other parts celebration, what is it? New teacher, beginning teacher. All will be celebrated on Thursday night. I want to thank the city of Monroe for the use of the Dowd Theater. It's a beautiful facility if you haven't been there. And good luck to all of our principals all of our teachers that have qualified from each school. Do they still get the free car for a year? They still do that deal?
Working on that, sir.
Okay. Well, you're going to get something. I can promise you that.
Madam Chair, since it is Teacher Appreciation Week, I'm just curious to know from the board, do y'all remember your favorite teacher?
Yes.
Yes. Mrs. Smith, 3rd grade. She taught me how to write cursive.
Mr. Gibbous.
Mr. Treshine.
Anybody else?
My father was my driver education teacher.
Mine was Miss Norvita Bell.
Anybody else?
I remember my favorite professor in college.
That's good.
That'll
That's
work.
fine.
Well, I meant like if it was little.
Okay. Okay, announcements from board members? Anyone have one? I do not.
Facilities is going to meet on May 31st at 9 a.m. via Zoom, and curriculum is May 24th at 10 a.m.
The Strategic Planning, Information Technology, and Transportation Committee is scheduled to meet May 24th, 8 a.m. via Zoom, and that's if needed.
Anyone else?
And Shauna will tell me if there's going to be a finance committee meeting.
Okay. So I need a motion to adjourn. What? I don't. Nobody has told policy. What? The 16th at 8 a.m. via Zoom policy. Motion, we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.